Thank you. So yes, I have the privilege of working, I guess, in the juxtaposition between industry and social enterprise with the bedding industry, so the retailers, manufacturers, supply chain, councils and others, as well as soft landing social enterprise. I'd like to share a little bit of background on that journey, which we're really relatively at the beginning of, and discuss some of the challenges and opportunities that the industry and social enterprise model has provided us. So there are something like 18 product stewardship schemes in Australia that do a great job of recycling product. And fairly new, there are 3 mattress recycling schemes in the US that are mandated by government. Those are in California, Connecticut and Rhode Island. So mattresses are some of the biggest and bulkiest and buggiest items that we want to get rid of. Tip fees in metropolitan areas are fairly high for a mattress, so that makes the business case a little bit easier to get across to people. But in most places, it's easier to dump your mattress or put it out on the street for council collection. But there's one fledgling scheme that has more reasons to get them out of landfill and to recycle them.
Hello, I'm John Wheat, Executive Officer, Community Resources. We're a not-for-profit, a charity in community development. We use the creation of meaningful work as our principal strategy for social inclusion. We develop social enterprises which employ people who would otherwise find it difficult to get and keep a job. Soft Landing is one of those social enterprises. One of our main target groups, for example, is Aboriginal men leaving prison. For us, employment means people experiencing disadvantage can create social and economic livelihoods for themselves. Pulling apart mattresses is hard work, but it's often just what people having a hard time need. So, we need as many mattresses as we can get. So, we were pretty thrilled when the industry said, what about an industry partnership? Quite an inspired idea, a partnership between industry and a charity. It works for industry because they get a social and environmental outcome by getting involved. We are the largest and most experienced mattress recycler in Australia, so we can guarantee quality and economy. So partners get the triple bottom line, the social, the environmental and the economic. There's potentially 1.5 million mattresses per annum in Australia that need to be pulled apart each year. That's about 400 jobs. That's a lot of lives, a lot of families, a lot of communities that we can have a positive effect on.
So thank you, John, sitting down the back. So how did this inspired partnership come about? Well, it started in a bar, of course. Oops, sorry. Where's my little... Oh, we had the greatest picture of 3 men standing in a bar in New York. Which has now disappeared. That's okay. So it was in the 1990s, actually, when one of the largest and oldest manufacturers, a family business, was in New York at a bar talking to a fellow who happened to operate tips, who informed him, the manufacturer, that he had a mountain of mattresses to get rid of, and he was very keen to enlighten Gary on the problems. So the volume that they take up in valuable landfill, the hazard that they are to heavy equipment and drilling equipment getting into springs in landfill, and the waste of resources. Later, that manufacturer connected with 2 guys at a company called, or who had started a business called Soft Landing, to recycle mattresses, to help solve the problem of the dumping of mattresses at their charity shops that they were having to get rid of. So they got together and over time brought together a range of stakeholders, and it has now resulted in, I guess, the beginnings of a product stewardship scheme. Community Resources acquired Soft Landing, keen to grow the recycling of mattresses, the jobs that would provide, and the geographic reach. So they invested in setting up a set of guidelines, and industry started to fund the scheme. Because the other problem is that they breed on the street. Have you ever noticed when someone puts a mattress out, it's not just one by the end of the week, it's many, and then they attract vermin and all sorts of things. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of an understanding of where, what the size of the problem is. In the absence of really good data on the number of mattresses available to be disposed of, we use some surrogate data. So to set up a plant that of manual deconstruction or mostly manual deconstruction to employ people requires about 20,000 mattresses per year. Our surrogate data says that about 10% of the population change over their mattress each year because they have a life of about 8 to 10 years. So that means we need populations of about 200,000 to create a viable recycling centre. The maroon on this, the dark maroon, of which there isn't much on this map, shows populations of more than 2,000. So for most of the population outside of major centres just don't warrant deconstruction plants the way that they are at the moment. There's also retailers on this map. You can't see very many of them because they're all concentrated in the main metro areas. West of Griffith, of the major chains, there's only one retailer in a town. Online sales of bedding are starting to change that. And beds in a box, which is what happens, they come in a box and they spring open, with 100-day trials, are starting to change the reach of the retailing of mattresses. One bed in a box mattress retailer told me they even sell up to Gove Island off the top of Northern Territory, so that's a lot of transport. Obviously, the cost of transport of mattresses and recovered components is a major issue due to their size and their bulk and their bugginess. There are some red round dots there, which are the soft landing recycling centres. Currently, they started out in 2015 when the product stewardship group started forming, with Sydney and Bellambi in Wollongong, or just near Wollongong. It's now Soft Landing and Tick Mattress Recycling have partnered to, increase the capacity in Sydney and Melbourne. And there's now Western Australia, the ACT, Newcastle, and within the next 12 months, hopefully at Latrobe Valley. So this next map shows you where 20,000 mattresses occur. So if you see Wollongong will have about 20,000 mattresses available per year to recycle. That's good, we have a centre there. However, the southwest, which is in the pink area, that's 20,000, and look at the distances. And then the blue, the turquoise, is the northwest, is another 20,000. So they're massive distances that mean that the way things currently are, it doesn't warrant us setting up mattress recycling, but we need to think differently to be able to accommodate those markets. So there's lots of opportunity. Here we did a survey, ANZRP, another product stewardship scheme, did a survey for us of councils to find out what was currently happening to mattresses. The white is where we didn't get a response, but in those coloured areas, you see the green areas are where they are recycled. Purple goes to landfill, orange is shredded, and yellow is something else, which could be removing steel and then landfilling the rest. So we have lots of opportunity to turn those grey, white, purple and orange into green areas. And we need to do that by collaborating. Currently, we are collaborating with the Product Stewardship Group, which is being supported by Sustainability Advantage. We're collaborating with our the US schemes, and we've had incredible support from other product stewardship organisations, as well as the logistics expertise of Soft Landing, who've been in this business for a very long time. So who is committed to this project? This is our executive committee, so we have not just manufacturers and retailers, but also supply chain. We've had Kenworth trucks come and talk to us about recycling mattresses out of their trucks. So we have a really great mix on our board of business people and social enterprise. So John from Community Resources, which is the administrator of the scheme, and Andrew from Soft Landing are both on there.
Hi, my name is Vernon Fair. I'm the National Manufacturing Manager with Sealy of Australia. We are a licensee of Sealy, Tempur Sealy in the United States, and we're a family-owned business in Australia. The reason we got involved in this scheme is that we have been looking for a number of years to find a way to take some responsibility for our product life cycle. The fact that we found Soft Landing appealed to us because of the social enterprise side of it. We believe as Australian manufacturers that we have a responsibility to the environment and to the social entities of our country, and we feel that this is a really great platform for us to fulfill those desires.
So if you were to ask me what our vision is for Soft Landing product stewardship, it would be that we would have every manufacturer on board, every contributor to the bedding industry on board, that we would have all the retailers on board, that we would have the community at large aware of this program.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Lee, Managing Director of Covestro in Australia, and I'm really proud to be a founding member of the Soft Landing Product Stewardship Scheme. Covestro, as the inventor of polyurethane foam 80 years ago this year, is committed to see the industry sustained for another 80 years and more. As the key supplier in Australia and globally of polyurethane raw materials, the Soft Landing Product Stewardship Scheme stands out for me not only as a great recycling initiative, preventing mattresses ending up in landfill, but their goals as a social enterprise to provide skills, opportunities to those less fortunate in our society is the key attraction. With the solid support of all parts of the value chain, from retailers to mattress manufacturers and upstream suppliers like Covestro, I'm confident the scheme will achieve its goals.
So I just wanted to show you some of the members of why they wanted social enterprise at the core of this scheme. So let me talk a little bit about the good, the bad and the ugly of partnering with a social enterprise. So the first thing is the story. People are really engaged in the story, as you heard from Rebecca and from Vernon there. It is what has brought so much enthusiasm from those industry leaders to participate voluntarily in a recycling program. Trusted partnerships was a really key issue for the industry. They wanted to have someone at the centre of this scheme that they really trusted. So while the partnership with Community Resources is only 18 months old, they've been with Soft Landing since the beginning of our discussions in 2012. No one knows mattresses like mattresses like Soft Landing. So we have expertise and guidance from the experts in the industry. And the passion of the people has been really important. The tireless drive for the social benefit. And, you know, from people at Soft Landing through to the industry members, there really has been a tireless commitment. And it's also very timely. Government and business are now talking about social enterprise and the value to society and how they can get involved. So I think the timing is really good for this emerging model. Industry has the drive, the connections and the business experience to lend to the scheme. And there's a feel-good factor about about supporting a public benevolent institution. So those are some of the positives of this model. I prefer to think of the bad and the ugly rather as challenges and risks that lead us to opportunities. So one of the challenges for us as an industry to fit into a multi-service social enterprise is it's sometimes a bit like putting a square peg into a round hole. So Community Resources has businesses like human support services for home modification, maintenance, Indigenous community links. They're into waste and resources with Resource Recovery Australia, Stand 7, and Soft Landing. But the one thing that ties them all together is the jobs, creating jobs for people experiencing disadvantage. So this square peg in a round hole showed up in different ways. So from our position in the org structure, where did we, as the scheme of industry partners, fit into this? We're not a business, but we're administered by community resources. So that created us some angst that we had to work through, and we still are working through some of that. Constitutional chaos. You know, trying to fit into the constitution of a benevolent public institution has been really challenging. The systems, the accounting systems are not set up for the kind of business that we are. The database, the customer service, there's a lack of some sort of tools that businesses are used to having. And so we could outsource all of those things to someone who is a little bit more similar in business model, but we prefer to continue supporting the social enterprise and help them grow to meet our needs. Then there's the blurred lines resulting from our name and branding. It was really important to the industry to continue with the Soft Landing name, which Soft Landing has granted us the right to use because of its strong recognition in the market. But it also created some really difficult, I guess, confusion between what is Soft Landing the business and what is the product stewardship. And so we've done a little bit of rebranding, as you can see on the side there, and we are trying to delineate a little bit more between the two. And the other issue was about perceptions of monopoly, and you know, how does that translate into pricing for recycling? And I guess we've responded to that. Well, firstly, our executive committee is made up of people who have to pay for the recycling, so they are going to be doing their darndest to keep that price down. But all of these issues are governance related, and so as we develop, we will be ensuring that we have robust structures to manage all of those things. In terms of threats, taking responsibility for the scheme. So Soft Landing drove a lot, and community resources drove a lot of the development by developing guidelines for the scheme based on stakeholder engagement, and took that responsibility until they really started putting their money where the industry started putting its money where its mouth is. And so that's where we are at the moment. And then the financial risk. What happens if industry can't fund itself and we've racked up some debt? We don't want to leave that on the social enterprise. So again, these are all governance issues. The question for us is not, is this the cheapest solution, but rather, does the solution provide the best outcomes for those paying and for other stakeholders? And does it contribute to people experiencing disadvantage? So we need to balance managing volume, keeping costs down, creating employment, providing a professional service, and being environmentally and socially responsible. That's a lot of things to be balancing, and I'm sure we're going to have lots and lots of issues doing that, but that's part of our mandate. So there are many other challenges with the changing landscape, with online sales, the trials of bedding, meaning lots of beds get returned, new materials, electronics in beds, are they now e-waste? And all those sorts of things, but they're for another time. So 2 more points I'd like to make. First is about the shared objectives of industry and the social enterprise. Though the order may change for the different groups, we still all have the shared objectives of increasing diversion, increased recovery from landfill, meaningful employment, improving community economics, health and wellbeing, making it easy for customers to get rid of their mattresses, and for our members, it's also about helping them attract more customers who are concerned about where their bed goes to. So finally, a 2015 study by Social Ventures Australia and the Centre for Social Impact found that every dollar invested in social landing returned $3.60 in social value. If you see that little blue segment at the top that's got 835,000 in it, that's the value of the downstream components. That's the value paid for the recovered materials. So through partnerships with universities, particularly University of New South Wales, and through partnering with the US schemes and the research that they're doing, we plan to increase that value while maintaining the other values, because that will help us get our costs down and increase that social return on investment even more. So we still have lots of challenges, but the benefits are powerful and compelling. So I think it's time to create a new product stewardship mould, not to replace the others, but to be another alternative. And I'm here for the next few days. We have some information at the soft landing stand, number 44, which is near the main entrance. So if you're interested in discussing product stewardship or mattress recycling, then I'd be very grateful to talk to you. Thank you.